Morai v'Rabotai, we're sitting here today, another Tisha B'Av, another day where we mourn the destruction of the Bet HaMikdash, of the Holy Temple, where Yerushalayim is still sitting in ruins without the house of Hashem. And the truth is, if we think about it, this year, 5780, this year, Tisha B'Av has a little bit different meaning to people across the globe. Because Hashem Yirachem, the past few months, we've been going through this COVID-19, which has changed everyone's life in one way or another. Everyone was impacted. Everyone's life had a sudden halt to its normal activity. And as we sit here at Tisha B'Av, some people are starting to have things easing up in their local countries, cities, whatever it may be, whereas others are still going through the tsar and the pain as the pandemic is still raging, Rahmana al-Tzlan, in their cities. Regardless of the situation, this year we felt something missing in our lives. We're starting to appreciate the things that seem so simple. Going to shul, sending the kids to schools, going to malls and shopping and visiting people. Everything had a major sudden turn in events. And maybe, just maybe, Hashem is telling us, He's letting us feel what Kaviyachol He feels about not having the Bet HaMikdash. Where we should just feel like something is missing. We should feel like something is not 100%. So He can awaken us to know what it means to appreciate the basics of life. And to know what it means to recognize that something is missing in this world for the creator of the world. And it's missing because of our actions, because of our behavior. Rabotai, today I just want to focus on one nikuda, one little point that I'm sure most people heard at one point in this pandemic. A famous ma'amar geula, a famous statement that was written by Ramoshe Chaim Luzzatto, the Ramchal, one of the greatest Baalei Musar, one of the greatest Mikubalim that lived in Italy a few hundred years ago. I want to repeat this because I believe the message is something that we have to really listen to and live by. Because even as the shuls started opening up here in parts of the United States, in New York, New Jersey, I feel like maybe the message didn't hit home the way it should have. And we have to really wake up now. So what does the Ramchal tell us? What does the Moshe Chaim Luzzatto tell us? He tells us something very fascinating. He says that when HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when Hashem closed, when He destroyed the Sha'ar HaGadol, the large fence, when Hashem destroyed the large gate, He opened Charanot Ktanim, He opened up some small windows. And those small windows were just a tiny glimpse of what the large gate was all about. And what exactly is this large gate? What's He referring to? Ki en ze ki im bet Elokim v'ze sha'ar hashamayim. The large gate is referring to the Bet HaMikdash. That is the gates to heaven, to Shamayim. And what's the small windows referring to? Mashgiach min hacharonot, matzitz min hacharakim. It's referring to the shuls, the Batei Midrashot, the Batei Knesiyot. Nowadays that we have no Bet HaMikdash, what's our Mikdash Me'at? What's our minor sanctuary? It's the Bet HaKnesiyot, the shuls that we have, the synagogues. So the Ramchal was telling us that when Hashem closed, when He destroyed the Sha'ar Gadol, the Bet HaMikdash, He opened the small windows, He opened up the shuls, the synagogues. Now listen very carefully what he tells us. The Ramchal tells us at the end. He says, and when Hashem is ready to rebuild, to reopen the Sha'ar Gadol, the large gate, when Hashem is ready to reopen the Bet HaMikdash, then He'll start closing the small windows. He'll start closing all the shuls, all the Batei Midrashot, all the learning centers around the world. But this is unbelievable. If you think about it, when in history do we have that every part of the world had to shut down the shuls? All the synagogues were closed. In Eretz Yisrael, in America, in Europe. You name it, wherever it may be, they had to close their shuls because of this pandemic. All of them at once, if you think about it, even by the Holocaust. Yes, certain parts of the world were destroyed. But other parts, we still had thriving communities and shuls were opened. And Torah centers were full of life. But here we are, during this pandemic where we had a certain time frame, where all shuls around the world were closed at the same time. This is what the Ramchal is telling us. When Hashem is ready to open up the large gate, He's ready to give us the Bet HaMikdash back, He'll start closing the windows. Rabotai, some of the windows are still open. We see shuls still open right now. They're reopened. But they're not fully opened. We have all these restrictions. We have all these fears, masks, social distancing. Different minyanim at different times. You don't want to have 200 people at once. That means Hashem hasn't shut it completely. According to the Ramchal, it has to shut completely eventually. But the question, will it be slammed? Will Hashem have to slam the window shut? Or could it be a nice smooth closing? And then He could open up the Sha'ar Gadol, the Bet HaMikdash once again. Our behavior in the shuls will dictate how Hashem has to put an end to the shuls, quote unquote, before opening up the Bet HaMikdash. Are we going to go back to shul and talk once again and laugh and use our phones and do our emails and check our stocks? Gold, silver, this, that. Or are we going to realize, you know what? Business is business. There's a time for everything. In a Bet HaKnesset, I'll focus on my tefillah, my prayers, my learning. And then when I'm done, I'll step outside. I'll check the news. I'll check the stocks. Rabotai, if we're going to give the proper kavod, the proper respect to the sanctuary, to the Bet HaKnesiyot, to the shuls, then Hashem will close the shuls. He'll close the windows. But it'll be done in a nice transition as He opens up the Bet HaMikdash. But if Chas v'Shalom, we're not learning our lessons, then it could be a closing that's not to our liking, quote unquote. So this is the message we have to take to heart on Tisha B'Av. We're close to the Geulah. We're close to the Geulah. We're seeing so much suffering, Hashem Yerachem. So many tzaddikim that have lost their lives over the past few months because of the pandemic. So many lives have been changed. So many people are yearning to see their loved ones again. We need Tchiat HaMetim, we need Geulah. But we want the Geulah to come b'nachal v'lo b'tzar. In order for that to happen, we have to all increase our kavod to the Bet HaKnesset, give the proper respect to the shuls. But also we have to decrease the hatred that's still taking place amongst different people and communities and segments of Klal Yisrael. Any generation where the Bet HaMikdash is not rebuilt is a generation in which it would have been destroyed as well in that generation. We haven't fixed the problems of sinat chinam, of baseless hatred. We're still judging people based on their backgrounds. We're still judging people based on where they came from, on their customs and minagim. You have to put an end to it. You have to show unconditional love. Respect each other. Show love to each other. Doesn't matter what your last name is. Doesn't matter where you came from. This is what Hashem wants. We're all one man, one family, one body. We have to feel that way. We have to feel that way. We have to live that way. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is our mission. Not to let Tisha B'Av go to waste. Let's have a little introspection. Look into the way we treat our Bate Knesiot, our shuls. And look into the way we treat each other. I'm not just referring to how you treat the people at work, and how you treat people in shul, how you treat people in stores. How do you treat the people in your own home? We have to start working on our shalom bayit, with our spouse, with our parents, with our children, with our siblings, with the people that we live with. Not just with the people outside. Of course that as well, but also the people at home. So many people having shalom bayit problems. So much tension in many homes, unfortunately. Let's try to fix that up as well. Let's make sure this Tisha B'Av doesn't go to waste. We're so close to the Geulah. Let's tell HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem, we're ready. We're giving the proper respect to the Makom HaMikdash, to the Bet HaMikdash. We're giving the proper respect to each other. We're trying to improve our Shabbat observance, our kashrut, our tzniut. Effort is all Hashem wants. No one's perfect. No perfection. We've got to put our effort. But at the same time, Rabotai, get involved with bringing others closer to Torah. You know, I always say this every year. When the different staff members of Chazaq put together this Tisha B'Av marathon. We're doing this already for, unfortunately, too many years. We used to do it primarily in a shul in Queens, Bet Gavriel. Strong partnership that we have with them. And Torah Anytime would give it to the world. Now Chazaq is doing it exclusively this year, only through technology. Because shuls are still not 100% opened. But we don't want to have to keep doing these events. There's so much work we have as a nation. Just to think that in Queens, we have so many kids in public schools. Kids that come from good homes that don't understand maybe the value of a Jewish education. We have to all get involved and inspire other people. We have to tell people the importance of sending their kids to yeshivot. The importance of giving a Jewish education. And the dangers of giving them an education that's lacking Torah. In today's public school system, the things that they're being taught, Hashem Yishmor. It's very scary what these kids are being taught at a young age. But some people don't know that. And we have to all, it's not just Chazaq's responsibility. It's everyone's responsibility. Speak to your family members, your neighbors, your friends. Get involved. Get involved. With any way you can. To save more neshamot. Because the Geulah is almost here, B'ezrat Hashem. We want to get as many people onto the boat, onto the train. Yiratzon, if we take these messages to heart, we're going to be zocheh. We're going to be zocheh, B'ezrat Hashem, that this should be our last Tisha B'Av, where we're mourning, where we're crying over the destruction of the Bet HaMikdash. And B'ezrat Hashem, here on out, we should be zocheh to see the coming of Mashiach Tzidkenu, with the Geulah Shelema, B'mera B'yamenu, speedily in our days, B'simcha v'tuv levav, B'nachal v'lo b'tzar. Amen ve'amen.